Steve, why has the Patrons Trust only just come to light in the last day, weeks, months?
Well, it hasn't. It's actually been on the table for probably a year or more, and it was actually what we first took to Nathan Tinkler, and he was supportive of it at that time. The Patrons Trust was one of the options considered by the board. At the same time, they considered the Tinkler Group's offer. At that point in time, based on a 1.5-page letter, the board thought that the Tinkler Group offer would be superior to that of the Patrons Trust, and decided to proceed forward in good faith. As this has unfolded, I would suggest that the Patrons Trust model is now superior to the Tinkler Group's offer by a long way.
You're concerned that there'll be some thought in the public arena that this is something you've cobbled together in the last day or two in response to the Tinkler?
No, because you can see evidence of this 12 months ago. It was on public record 12 months ago that this was our preferred mode of going forward. We felt that a community structure is vitally important to this club, more so than any other NRL club, and that if we could find a structure that preserved the members' rights and preserved the Newcastle Knights as a community operation, then that's the way we'd like to head. And we've never deviated from that, apart from when we thought that the Tinkler Group offer, when it was presented as a $100 million offer, of course it was never a $100 million offer, as many media outlets are now reporting, we considered that it could be up to $30 million. And if you put that in a net present value, it probably brings you back to a little bit less than $20 million. So that was an offer too good to refuse. But unfortunately, the detail has never flushed that out.
Can I ask what response you're expecting from the Newcastle community, from Knights fans? On radio this afternoon, they've already expressed their bit of disappointment with this deal falling through.
Yeah, I think the people who were informed with the details of the document are very positive in rejecting it, and it's those who have not seen the details, and we're hoping that this conference will deliver those details, that are misinformed. I think we're disappointed too that it's not a $100 million offer, but it's certainly not.
What's your view of the actual offer from Tinkler, and do you think he was just trying to take the club by stealth?
I think that Rob addressed that earlier in saying that the way that the deal is written at the moment, it could have actually been a zero contribution. And I think that's awfully dangerous and something that our board could never have endorsed. And it is written in the document that it would never go forward unless the board gave it 100% endorsement, which they were not prepared to do.
What's the key difference between the Patrons Trust model and the Tinkler model?
The Patrons Trust model is where a group of patrons commit sums of money for periods of time without having any ownership of the club. It's like having benefactors that give money to the club. It wasn't in the vicinity of what we thought was going to be $30 million, and that's why the board made the decision at that time to progress the Tinkler offer. But as we've worked through the detail, which is you can see there the documents. Those documents were handed to us overnight on Wednesday, and we were given 2 days to respond to that. Yeah, so once we've worked through that detail on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and responded yesterday that the many things that we'd put on the table still hadn't been addressed, the offer was withdrawn.
Do you think there's any chance to get the Tinkler offer back on the table somehow?
No, I don't. I think at this point in time it's been withdrawn twice. We've never been able to bring it to conclusion, but despite the best efforts of the board. And we're now going to progress with the other offer, which I think is substantially superior, not only in monetary terms, but certainly in the structure that this club will remain community-owned, managed and owned by members, and they'll have a real say in where it goes.
Byron, is that 6 to 10 million over 4 years? Is that?
That's correct.
Or is it 6?
It's a minimum of 6 and could be up to 10 million over 4 years.
That's been guaranteed already?
This morning.
Who are the patrons?
We will put one of those up to you. They've at this stage we don't have their permission to use them in this press conference or this media conference. We're happy to put one of those up to you, which is Andrew Poole, who is happy to speak on behalf of the other patrons at this stage.
So did rumours of Nathan Tinkler having a new managerial team to kind of step in and take over the Knights if the deal was to go through, it had nothing to do with those?
No, it doesn't. Look, that again is just misinformation that's put out there. Firstly, our directors all have their own businesses to run. They don't get paid for being on the Knights board, so why would they want to preserve a zero payment and cop the pressure and abuse that they've received over recent times? As far as myself, it's never been in the interest of me retaining a job. I come into this job as a favour for the then chairman, and I've done the best that I can do over the 3 years. And I said from day one, it was never about me preserving, it was about getting the right deal for the Newcastle Knights. And if that cost me my job, so be it.
What do you mean pressure and abuse?
Well, I think there's been a lot of things said about that the board is looking after its own interest, is looking after its own payments, is looking after protecting their own jobs. They don't get payments. What you understand is that these people come into this boardroom after work all day, work all weekend as they have this last weekend for zero payment. The best they get is a polo shirt.
Did you ever consider putting this out to the members to have a vote on?
It's worth remembering that neither I nor any of my directors have a pecuniary interest in a particular outcome here. The easy thing to do would have been to move on and hand it over. The hard thing to do is to represent the best interests of this club and the membership, which in turn represents the best interests of this community.
Why would the Tinkler offer not have been better for the members if he had the money to fund it and never be worried about debts and that sort of stuff? Why would it have taken decisions out of the members' hands, for example?
The members virtually had no say in going forward. As the document was written, even though the members, after 2 years, got to vote 2 persons to the board, the Tinkler Group had right of veto to stop those 2 people coming on and had the right to have them removed from the board at any time. So the members basically had no say whatsoever.
The lack of a commitment to 10 years is reinforced by the fact that under its current structure, this proposal allows a sale to a third party which obliterates all of the attendant conditions and guarantees in this proposal into the future. So effectively the members would have no interest whatsoever left in the club upon a sale within that 10-year period and no ability to enforce a guarantee for the remainder of the 10 years.
What that is saying is that the Tinkler Group could sell this organisation at any time they got hold of it, day one forward, and that they could sell that to another Tinkler organisation, but whoever they sold it to, there was no onus on that new owner to meet any of the obligations that was in this current contract. So on day one they could have transferred it to another business and not have to meet any conditions of the contract. You think that's fair?
There was no way legal advice couldn't tell you some way to rescue this deal?
Yes, and that's what we put forward to the Tinkler Group, and they were not prepared to negotiate it.
Rob, can you explain how it was initially outlaid as a 10-year deal and now you're saying it's only a 2-year guarantee? How did that get broached and presented to you?
Well, it was presented to us from the initial discussions on the 24th of January. So that this would not be a commitment with a guarantee put forward up front for the 10-year period. So we were confronted by that in the negotiation process from the outset.
Jury, they put out a release last night, the Tinkler Group, suggesting that you guys were reading it wrong and that the 10-year guarantee was there. Are they...
No.
Well, if that's the case, then we look forward to meeting this afternoon at 2 o'clock
and
to discuss just that.
And if I can say, Baz, we've got people around this room that are commercially astute. Not only that, we didn't act independent. We took financial advice and we took legal advice from experts. So, you know, that statement, again, is completely untrue.
The Tinkler Group suggests that maybe you've been poorly advised and that you don't have a full understanding of the commercial side, even, and also people that advise you.
I think that the advisor we have enough credibility to say that their advice is not poor. He can make that statement if he likes. It's not one that I'd be making.
Is it true that the Tinkler Group, or Nathan, has rolled over parts of loan to ensure that you've turned a profit in previous
No, it's a misunderstanding of their commercial understanding. When you talk about a trading profit, it doesn't include loans. Loans are put elsewhere. Most businesses carry debt, so I would suggest they have a commercial misunderstanding.
I understand he's going to call in the current debt for $500,000.
We're happy to pay it.
Also, how will that affect your bottom line?
It won't.
Do you think that Nathan Tinkler's, alleged offers to Kate Snowden and maybe Jamal Idris show a lack of commercial understanding on his part?
I think it shows a lack of I guess, unprofessionalism, if nothing else. To look at our roster and see how many front row forwards that we have on our books at the moment and committed for the next couple of years have an understanding that we have a number of marquee players coming off contract, headed by people like Kirk Gidley and Isaac de Gois, to then make an offer of that amount, if it is him, and I don't know that personally, but certainly there are many people who allege that it was the Tinkler Group who made the offer to him and to Jamal Idris and to Michael Ennis and to Darius Boyd and to the coach, Wayne Bennett. You know, if that's the case, it just shows a complete arrogance and unprofessionalism. And I guess that put doubts in our mind as well.
Was there a formal agreement between you and the Tinkler Group to have a standstill on signing of players and sponsors while you conducted these negotiations?
No.
There was an agreement to discuss with them any material contracts that may be entered into through the negotiation period.
You haven't signed anyone since these negotiations have started?
No, we've engaged a minor coach.
We engaged Matthew Johns, which was a very small commitment. It's a part-time role. Ivan Tulamavave was not a signing. It was him exercising his option for a further year. So he notified us that he would take up his option for the final year. That was in his right to do so. So we haven't acquired anyone. West Track sponsorship was months ago. We made the announcement just recently, and we clearly gave the documentation to the Tinkler Group, and they were aware. You're going to understand it's an apparel sponsorship, and anyone, which I know there's people in the room, have been involved in apparel sponsorships. You need to get that on your jerseys up front very early to get the designs done, to get them printed, to get them imported from China, and all those things that happen. It was months ago. Like happens in most of these things, the announcement is timed to coincide. It's put on the back burner when you're having, you know, negative media out there, which happened to us over the last couple of months. So we were just picking the time right to announce the West Track contract.